You know what I find really funny? Maybe not funny, interesting, worthy of discussion. I've done a whole video on it. Is that we're going to this Man City game, and I think you're going to find out my starting 11 at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. But I think if I asked all of you to put your starting 11s for the City game in the comment section below, most of you wouldn't have Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus in it. Obviously injuries dependent. Assume Saka and Martinelli are fit, because there's obviously rumours they won't be. But most of you won't have Zinchenko and Jesus in your starting 11s. Let's reverse 12 months. And I don't think Arsenal fans could dream of going to our biggest game of the season without Zinchenko and Jesus in the 11, because it just felt that they were crucial to the attacking football we played. And now here we are going into the City game with this dilemma. It's a good problem to have, but the problem of whether they should start or not. And I don't think they should. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to break it down on the tactical pad, talking about why Kivior's done really, really well. I think the two players, Kivior and Havertz, who've been playing in Jesus and Zinchenko's roles, have played it with a really kind of cold demeanour. You know, very professional and very kind of understated, just there to do the job. Jesus in his kind of wonderful flair is brilliant to watch, and don't get me wrong, we all love him for it, and we know that Zinchenko demonstrates a lot of passion on the pitch, but there's something quite cold about Kivior and Havertz that I think has quietly had a little kind of positive undertone to the way Arsenal are playing. There's a tactical benefit, of course, as well to Kivior being in this team. We're going to focus on Kivior and Zinchenko in particular. If we just take it to the tactical pad, I've got the 4-3-3 that Arsenal started in against Porto. Now, it goes without saying that if Zinchenko's in this team, you know what you're getting. Odegaard moves forward, Rice moves forward, the 6 moves across, and Kivior, if he's playing the Zinchenko role, inverts, and that's what you get. You get that shape. I've made it look terrible, but you get what I'm talking about. What we've been getting with Kivior in the team is actually more of a 4-2-4 build-up. So Kivior and White are hugging the touchline, and Rice is in build-up with Jorginho, and Odegaard and Havertz are playing as the two to form a box. We've seen this really in the two Liverpool games at home at the Emirates. We saw it against Newcastle as well. That's when tactically we could really see it more than ever, but that is the way Arsenal have been building up. What I really like about Kivior in this left back role is there's a little bit more interchangeability and unpredictability about the way Arsenal build up. Now the reason you might build up in this 4-2-4 shape or 4-4-2 shape that Arsenal have been doing is I think it keeps us in shape if we're to get caught in transition. Everyone's in their defensive positions. But the other thing you do get, like I mentioned with the interchangeability, is that, like in games against West Ham, you might have the 6 move inside a little bit so that White can invert and Kivior can slot into the left centre-back role, and you've got your 4 behind the striker. We've seen that, but we've also seen Kivior invert and it move across. Hasn't worked as well. We saw against Fulham there was a bit of a struggle, but at times Kivior has inverted. At times we've even seen it be a double invert. Not so often, but at times in build-up they have looked a little bit more like that because Kivior can tuck in. There's been this interchangeability. Now if I show you the goal that we scored against them, because Ben White was playing more on the touchline, I've got evidence for it. What you'll see is Ben White here, I'm highlighting him, is in a much more central role. You're going to see that Declan Rice therefore breaks forward as Odegaard leaves his right, central midfield position to move more inside. And that causes chaos in the Porto midfield because they don't know who to pick up, and then Odegaard does his magic from the left of central midfield where he's normally doing it out on the right. That's what an inverting fullback can do. It can cause some chaos by having more interchangeability because you've added another body in there and White is taking up that area of the pitch. But let me show you this, right, because this is really interesting. If I take you to the average positions map from that Porto game, White looks wider than Kivior. He's higher up the pitch, but his average position would tell you that he is wider than Kivior in that game. So he inverted for that one moment and it caused an unpredictability, but he wasn't doing it throughout. Same against Brentford, I'll show you that one here. Again, he's largely level with Kivior. Again, Kivior looks a little bit more tucked in there. And against Newcastle as well, this time it's Kivior who's the highest player up the pitch, and in all these pictures I've shown you, Saliba and Gabriel look pretty much even either side of the centre circle. So that's really fascinating because White has been able to invert. He's been getting a lot of praise for his ability to do that, but actually average position that will tell you that him and Kivior are actually playing in similar areas throughout the 90 minutes. And it does beg the question, are we moving beyond him? Is he being left behind a little bit? I'm going to say no. I want to say no, and this is why. What I've got here is a screenshot of some data I was working with on Tactical Insight over a year ago. And what you've got here is the red arrows, very few of them are his misplaced passes against Newcastle in a 0-0 draw at the Emirates. The blue passes are all his completed passes, but in yellow are also completed passes. But I wanted to highlight the passes that went into central areas and really key attacking areas. And look how many unlocked that left 8 position in a way that I don't think we've seen any other player in our squad do. Not Partey when he inverted from right back, not Ben White, not anyone who's filled in for Zinchenko. No one has played passes like Zinny did in that Newcastle game and the United game a few weeks later, I think it was. He is the master of that, and because of that I think he'll always have a place in this team. As we get better, more teams will throw more defensive obstacles at us to overcome, and I think Zinchenko from deeper areas is one of our biggest assets and abilities to try and unlock that. And I think for that reason he'll always have a part to play in this team. And for anyone who goes, yeah, but his attacking output isn't worth what he costs us defensively, I'm not saying that he's better than Kivior defensively. The eye test tells me that. Just my opinion tells me that. But the numbers would tell you that Zinchenko is really harshly done by from a defensive perspective as well. And the eye test also tells me that we all slightly overdo it defensively when it comes to Zinny. Have a little look at these. His numbers per 90, according to FBref against Kivior, he comes out on top for a lot of these numbers. Hit the pause button if you want to look out for them. But really, it tells you that, okay, maybe Kivior's data is picked up from games where we've won a lot of them comfortably. He started in both Sheffield United games and, he's on that brilliant run for Arsenal. He's been starting most of those games. And maybe that slightly affects the numbers because he's not having to do a lot of defending like Zinchenko has. But it does make me think that Zinny's perhaps slightly criticised too harshly for what he does bring defensively. So we've talked about it there, right? Are Arsenal moving beyond Zinchenko? And maybe Jesus? I don't think so, but I think they definitely need other options, and I don't think these are two players who, not just for all the reasons I mentioned, but for injury reasons too, aren't players we can really depend on as first 11s right now. Which is why, come the game this weekend, my starting 11 is David Raya in goal, with White, Saliba, Gabriel and Kivior in the back four. Jorginho keeps his place. I know there's a temptation to play Partey, but I think you've got to stick with Jorginho. He's given more this season and more in big games recently. With Odegaard and Rice, and then Martinelli, Saka, if fit, start with Havertz up top. So the two former City players miss out, which is crazy to me. I never thought I'd be saying that, but that is just the reality of where Arsenal are right now, where these players are in the pecking order and how well Havertz and Kivior have done coming in for those players in those positions. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are we moving past Zinchenko and Jesus? Because the fact that we don't want to play them against Man City this weekend, or some don't, I don't, I think many of you don't, suggests that we are looking like a team that might be better off without them, despite the immense quality they can bring to this team. And I just want to say a really big thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, actually hit the links right here to watch more content like this, including my Football First podcast, which drops every Monday to Friday at 6 AM. And I know it's annoying, I am really sorry to have to ask, but if you want to show support to the channel, hitting the like and subscribe buttons help promote the content much more than you could possibly know. Thanks again.